Good evening, everybody. A very happy new year to everybody. You guys in the United States and on that side of the world are not yet in 2023, but gotta tell you, I'm an hour into 2023 and it's pretty good already. And the future is very exciting, very full of promise and joy and some of this stuff. Lots and lots of this stuff. But that might be just my personal future that's full of this stuff. But it is. But welcome to tonight's New Year's Eve / Hogmany special party. I hope everybody is having a fantastic evening. We had a fantastic evening, just the family, because it's absolutely pissing it down with rain outside. Last year for New Year's, we had a bit of a street party. One of the guys that lives across the road from us is a piper, so he had his pipes and he basically marched up and down the street playing tunes on his pipes. And everybody came out onto the streets, and we all shared glasses of wine, bottles of beer. It was great, and I brought one of my snare drums out, and me and the piper did some pipe and drums for a bit, and it was great fun, and just a great way to get to know neighbors. Because I mean, last year we had moved in the summertime. So when I say last year, I mean 2021. We had moved into this house in the summertime. So that was our first New Year's experience on this pretty much brand new estate. So this year, unfortunately, it is absolutely hammering it down with rain. It has been raining for the last 2.5 days, pretty much non-stop. So it's not great, not the best of weathers, but it is what it is, but otherwise we are having a fantastic time. My kids are still awake because they are crazy lunatics and they wanted to see in the new year, which is cool. We watched the fireworks from Edinburgh. Actually, we could watch it on the telly, but if you actually went outside, you'd be able to look down the road. And when you look down the road, you can actually see out to the city on a clear day. And we would have been able to see the fireworks, but the rain's too heavy, so we didn't do that. We watched it on telly instead. Music to Motion says, Happy New Year in about 5 hours. Yes, you guys have got 5 hours to go before you get into 2023. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Tony says, I knew Johnny had been drinking. I can hear it in his voice. Actually, I haven't been drinking that much, just a wee bit. I'm only on my second glass of the bubbly stuff. All right, I'm going to see who's here. I think, hey, Christina was the first in the house at absurdly early. And the reason being is she is in Denmark. So it is an hour. She's actually an hour ahead of me. So she's even more of a future person than I am. So being that that's the case, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning for her, so I think she has probably turned in for the night, which is fair enough. Keith Chadwick is here over in Canada. We got John Hawk here. We got Billy Morgan. We got Kevin from Kevin's Guitar Stories. We got Just Bob. We've also got Dave Barcelo. Dave, good to see you, buddy. And we got Carl Trajuziak, we got Tony Stringer, and we have, as I said, Mike at Music to Motion is here. And Rich Cresswell from My Personas is here. And Papa Raptor Music says party, party, party. Absolutely. I'm going to try and make it as much of a party as I possibly can. Sean Aaron is here. And of course, the Anonymous Housewife is here, which is great. And who else do we have here? Bops is here as well, which is awesome. Don Oliver is here. Dave Anthony is here. Tony Cardona. And Lucas Rajitsker is here. Lucas, my dear friend, Happy New Year to you. I hope you're having a great time. Charlie Dillon is here. And who else do we have? We got the W5 family here as well, which is fantastic. We got Sean White Jr. as well. And I think we got to the end of the chat here, which is cool. Tony says, is anybody building an ark? No, but I think in certain parts of the UK they probably should, because it's been pretty epic. Certain parts of the UK had loads and loads of snow as well, and then the snow melted, and then it started pissing it down with rain. So, they are having not the best of time with flooding and things. Let's see, what else do we have here? Rich says to Bops, he says, we got 5 hours drinking time on you guys. You best be catching up. Exactly. Let's see, the future is looking hot, says Keith. Aye, it most certainly is. Guy LaBelle is here from Quebec, which is awesome, who is pretty much a neighbor of Keith, I believe. Mike says, did you have to chase the trash bin when the wind was up again? Yes, I did. But we have now acquired some breeze blocks, which are basically like porous concrete blocks, courtesy of the development company called Persimmon, who are building this estate. They're still actually building the last few houses on this development. And so they had some spare concrete blocks, and they said, hey, have at it. How many do you need? And I said, well, we need one for the main trash bin, and then we need one for the recycling bin. And the garden waste bin is fine because the weight of the grass will keep that stable. So we got 2 blocks, and we have had no trouble with the bins since. But certainly last year and a wee bit this year, when the winds have been up, I've had to go and find our trash bin. And also, we have one of those little food buckets as well for the food waste. We're on our second one of those because the last one we had, we never saw again after we had the wind. We had a storm in 2021, and it basically, the food trash can just was gone. So we managed to get another one from the council. I don't know what we're going to do about that, because if you put a block in there, you can't fit any food in it. So, Harley Bob is here as well, which is awesome. Welcome. Cinder blocks. Yes, thank you, Rich. Cinder blocks. Which makes me think of, like, somebody taking Cinderella and putting Cinderella through one of those compactor units. They have when you're at the place where they crush cars down into tin cans. That's what I think of when I think cinder block. For some reason in my head, I think of Cinderella being put through one of those compactors. I don't know why. Tony says, Johnny Guy doing a midnight show tonight, as far as you know? I have no idea. I don't know, actually. Whether he's doing something for New Year's or not. I don't know. Just Bo says, Velcro it down. I would if I had something to stick it to. Stick it to my arse, I suppose. Louis from Alps Media is here, which is awesome. We got about 23 people here, which is fantastic. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming, because, this is kind of New Year's Eve, and you guys are taking some time out of your evening with your family and your friends to hang out here with me for a wee while. I will stay on here as long as you guys want, to be honest. But I thought, it's New Year's Eve, and I kind of did this a wee bit for the Studio One meetup, and we had loads of people at the Studio One meetup, the UK one, which was last night. There were loads of people. I think we had like 24 people at one point, which was amazing. It was really, really good turnout. So, and some of you were there, but for those of you that weren't, and also for those of you that have been there last night, maybe we could kind of revisit the subject again. But I thought what would be cool is if we talk about what we would like to see for 2023, and that rhymes, but let's be specific. What would we like to see as new features added to Studio One, new features added to Notion if you're a Notion user as well, and also maybe what about new hardware products? What new hardware products would you like to see from Presonus in 2023? It'd be interesting to see what you guys have in your minds, what you're thinking about. And, let's see over the course of 2023, how many of those predictions actually come true. That would be pretty cool. So get going in the chat and get in there. And don't forget to put the @Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start of your post. And let's see what your thoughts are about new features for Studio One, new features for Notion, and also Presonus hardware products. That would be pretty cool. So we've got 24 people in here, which is great. We've got 19 likes, which is equally great. It'd be nice if we could get a 50-50 match. So, let's see if we can match viewers for likes. That would be cool. So whilst you're thinking about those, I got a couple of things that I want to talk about also for Jonny Lipsham Studios, for this channel, for 2023. I've been having a good long hard think about what I can do for the coming year, and I'm going to do a few different things that I've not done before. One of which is I'm feeling like 2023 ought to be, because you guys have invested so much into me personally and also into my channel. I thought that maybe this coming year could be a year where I can start to give back to you guys. And so I kind of thought, why don't we do some giveaways in 2023, maybe at different points throughout the year, but certainly to start with, maybe I thought, why don't we do a giveaway at the end of January to celebrate bringing in 2023? So that's kind of where I'm thinking at the moment. So I am talking to a few people about being able to get things that I can give away. And there is a little bit of a motive behind this as well. Currently, the channel sits at around about 4,900, almost. We're nearly at 4,900 in terms of subscribers. I would really like to get to 5,000 subscribers as early into 2023 as possible. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about in terms of giveaways. So if you're new and you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, select all notifications. I mean, if you want to be involved in the chat for my live streams, you got to be a subscriber anyway. The chat is limited to subscribers only. So hit that subscribe button. But also, if you're a subscriber, and especially if you're a new subscriber as well, when we get like close to 5,000, I'm going to start doing crazy stuff like giving things away and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at maybe the end of January, doing the first of those giveaways. And so yeah, I'm talking to my good friend and sponsor for my Sunday Night Live show, the inimitable Mr. Louis Deturi, over at Alps Media, and we are going to be collaborating together on giveaways for Sunday Night Live. And so if you know people who you think Sunday Night Live would be a really good thing for, get them along, get them subscribed to the channel. And the sooner we get to 5,000, the better. And like I said, I'm going to start giving things away. So who knows what we might give away? Maybe an interface, maybe some headphones, something like that. So if you guys are up for such things, help me out. It'd be cool. Harley Bob says, yeah, he likes giveaways. Awesome. All right, so some of you are starting to get in here. Lucas says, are you going to play a solo piano version of Auld Lang Syne? I did think about that, but you know what? I've probably had a wee bit too much to drink to do that, to be honest. It would sound a little bit atonal, I think. Let's see. Just Bob says, with all the DJ sounds PreSonus has, it would be cool to have exclusive record scratch samples and a MIDI DJ controller with a jog wheel available from PreSonus. Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. I like that. Rich says maybe he reckons I should play Auld Lang Syne. Charlie Dillon says I'd love to see a new guitar VST with a heap of Fender presets. I like the sound of that as well. But maybe those might probably more logically might get added to Empire as it exists at the moment. But we'll have to see. Paparaptor says, I'll gladly take one of your keyboards. I'm not giving these guys away. Because this guy is about 32 years old and it would not survive transport out of this room, probably. It's pretty much a miracle that it works at the moment. I have no idea how it is managing to stay functional, but it still is functional. It has some weird quirks that has developed over the years, which I don't think I'll ever be able to fix, but it still works as a MIDI controller. It is one of those keyboards that was one of those workstation keyboards, if you remember those from the 1990s, where it has a built-in sequencer. This has a built-in 16-channel sequencer. But that part of it doesn't work anymore. And there's a little disk drive at the bottom here, which doesn't work either. It makes this high-pitched little whine, which is actually quite quiet, but you can certainly hear it. If you put your ear near it, you can hear it whining away. And that's because the disc basically just keeps spinning. It won't stop. I don't know why that is either. Let's see. Kyle says, how about showing MIDI inputs, outputs next to the audio inputs in the mixer area when that section is open? That's an interesting idea. I like the sound of that one as well. David Baslow says, digital keyboard with a built-in, with Studio One integration. I love the sound of that. I love the sound of that. And actually, I have asked for that myself, personally. So who knows what may come of that. Sean Aaron says, field recorder, miniature Studio Live Series 3 that I can take out into the world. Features for Empire would be Fender pedals and IRs. Yes, absolutely. Fender pedals would be great. That would be fantastic. But yeah, digital keyboard would be something very, very cool. And I have asked for that. So who knows? But yeah. It would be quite an undertaking, that's for sure. Let's see, what else do we have? Anonymous Housewife says, I like the sound of Fender Empire presets. Yeah, me too, for sure. And I'm not a guitar player, but if they have a Fender bass amp, similar to my Rode bass amp that I take out for gigs, my Fender bass amp that goes on gigs, that would be fantastic. That would be really good. Let's see. Tony Cardona says, I would like PreSonus to come out with a 16-channel interface with 2 ADAT in-outs and 16 mic pre's, 16 outputs, Dante capability, all at under 700. Well, you know what? You're asking an awful lot for a device that's under $700. But I like the idea of a 16-channel actual interface, not just. I suppose, you know, the studio, you've got the Quantums and things like that, which actually have an awful lot of inputs. I think some of them have more than 16-channel inputs, and they do have ADAT. But like you said, they're not necessarily under $700. And they don't have Dante. Mostly because I think what we tend to use at PreSonus is AVB rather than Dante. Mike says also another thing that works is challenges of competitions and win a gift. Yes, for sure. Yep, that's another good idea. Let's see. Tony Stringer is here. Hello, Tony. He says I bought headphones from PreSonus and told my wife it was a gift from Alex Media. There you go. A macro control pad would be nice tied into commands. Yes, I like that too, Rich. That's a really, really great idea. Bob says, I think I would like to see is a template that's available so folks can get started. Not a tutorial. This way, as a new user, they won't be overloaded by all the features at once. I think that's kind of what the in Studio One 6, the new features there for customization is kind of, there are some presets there. There's a basic one. There's one that is just for recording. There's one that's just for audio editing. So there's a few different customizations you can do where you can basically strip away. Well, you don't strip them away, but you hide features that you're not going to use that are not important to you. So if you're not using the instruments, if the PreSonus instruments and all of that, you're not a MIDI guy, you're just an audio recording guy, you have no interest in instruments, you can hide that from the browser so that they are not there. That whole tab, that whole instrument tabs in the browser, you can hide it so it doesn't exist. And that way, you know, it's just something you don't have to look at. So in the browser, you'd only have, you know, your effects and the pool. That's all you'd have really, and files. But you wouldn't have the instrument tab. So you can do that kind of thing kind of already. Let's see. Mike says, you know, I'm in for helping to support anything for you. Well, that's really, really kind of you, Mike. Thank you very, very much. And you and I will definitely talk, for sure. Let's see. Full Dante support across all devices. Yeah, that would be pretty cool because I know that there are a lot of devices that are Dante rather than AVB. So that might be pretty cool. Bob's asks, can Studio One be fixed as when I plug in my banjo, not default to a frown emoji? I'm not quite sure what you mean there. When you plug in your banjo, not default to a frown emoji. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. But Papa Apps Music has an interesting response. He says, not possible with banjos. Yeah, afraid so. Bobby Booth is here. Hello, Bobby. Good to see you. He says maybe some emulation plugins like Tape. Yes, Tape would be fantastic. I mean, there's the Softtube Tape, which is you can have that either as a plugin or you can have that as part of the Mix Effects engine, which is cool. But wouldn't it be nice if we had our own? Yeah, definitely. Definitely would agree with that. Mike says, why do my messages disappear when I type something and put a smiley face or something at the end? Really? I've not seen that. Huh. Really? You put an emoji at the end? Yeah, Tony managed to put like a heart emoji at the end. Let me test this theory. So if I write, hello, everyone, Happy New Year. And then if I put some kind of emoji on here, let's see. Let's put that emoji on there. No, mine went through. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but yeah. And Keith Chadwick has just put a heart and a smiley face emoji, so they are working. So I'm not quite sure what is happening there for you. I don't know. I really don't know. Papa Raptor Music says, and a happy new year to you too. Yes, thank you very much. Charlie Dillon says hello, and he has a little smiley face, which is cool. All right, so yeah, let's keep up this conversation that we've got here about what you want to see in Studio One, or you know, Persona's hardware gear. Like, I mean, who's up for like more mixers, like a Series 4, maybe? I think that'd be pretty cool. I mean, I've got a Series 3 mixer right here. In fact, I have two Series 3 mixers. One is in the garage because the touchscreen doesn't work and I need it replaced. And in the meantime, I have this other one that I was sent to replace it. I have the 32SC, and then in the garage I have the original 16 Series 316, the blue one. So I've got both of those. Is there a new Jonny Lipsham Studios? No, there's just me. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Yeah, personally, I would love to see. I agree on the whole Fender pedals, Fender amps. Those would be great. I would love to see those. I would also personally love to see a new series of mixers. That would be great too. Also, I have an Akai wind synth, the Akai Iwi. And I would like to see better integration between Akai and Studio One, because the Iwi doesn't always want to play nice with Studio One and vice versa. So I don't use the Iwi maybe as much as I would like because of that. I did use the Iwi to fake the guitar solo on Dig Myself a Hole. I did all of that on the Iwi. And it worked. It worked fine. I recorded that with no problems at all. But there have been times where it just doesn't work properly. And so I have spoken to Akai support, and they're not really sure what the source of the problem is, whether it's with the drivers for that device or whether it's with Studio One. And likewise, the guys in Hamburg are kind of a bit stumped. So I would like to see that issue get resolved so that I can use the Iwi a bit more regularly. Papa Raptor Music says, I would love to see a new mixer series. My Studio Live AR12 USB is getting a bit tired. That's yeah, those are great mixers actually. But yeah, they are quite elderly now, I guess. Just Bob says, also a dedicated foot controller for guitarists. Yes, that would be great, especially with the integration with the show page. Being able to use that to change patches or change amp models entirely would be really, really cool for guitar players, especially when live. That would be great. Dave Barslow says, I'd like to see a tutorial for taking a hit song like an average white band hit and remix it the many different possible ways. There are. I don't think you're ever going to be able to get hold of something like average white band tracks, but if there is the Cambridge MT website, which has a whole bunch of songs that you can just download the stems for, and you can mix, you can remix, you can add things to it, you can do whatever you want with them, which are worth getting hold of. And some of them are well-known songs as well. So that's definitely an option. Could fader port control data / implementation be shared with competitors so that we can utilize it in different platforms? I think that's possibly unlikely to happen, I would suggest. I would suggest that that is highly unlikely to happen, but you never know. Guy says, how about a new Personas artificial intelligence laboratory that would put out a new incredible artificial tune every month on the Sphere? I like that. That makes me think of what I saw a documentary on this recently where they had I think 3 AI computers working on an opera. And they basically loaded up the computers with the AI software. They loaded them up with reference material because obviously these computers have never done opera before, so they had no idea what they were, you know, what they needed and all of that. They didn't know anything about it, so they gave it some. I think they gave it Wagner. Oh, that was a notification from WhatsApp. They gave it I think they gave it a Wagner opera. I think they gave it Tristan and Isolde as well from Schönberg. And then they also gave it Così fan tutte by Mozart and Magic. Oh, damn it, what's it called? The Magic Flute as well. Which is pretty cool. And so they loaded that up with all of that music. And then they basically said, give us an opera. A really dramatic, overly dramatic opera. And they set the computers to work, and several hours later it churned out the lyrics for the songs, the libretto, and the story, the dialogue, as well as the music and everything else. And then these actors, opera singers all got together, complete with, I think, the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and they handed out all the charts to the orchestra and everything, and then they performed it with no rehearsal. Everybody was sight reading it. And it was actually really, really interesting seeing this work that had been composed by a computer being performed for the very first time. And it wasn't actually terrible. I was expecting it to not make much sense, because I suppose to me, I was expecting, what happens when you put lyrics into Google Translate and you then translate them into French, and then you translate the French into Swiss German, and then you translate the Swiss German into Afrikaans or something like that, and then you translate that back to English. And I was expecting that end result English to be what the lyrics would be like. And actually it wasn't like that at all. And I was also expecting, the music to be laden with, kind of cliche musical devices. And it really wasn't like that at all. It was actually surprisingly good. I mean, it's the kind of work I would expect from an undergraduate student. A really good undergraduate student, but an undergraduate student nonetheless. And to me, that's what it was like. I thought, wow, this is actually, if this was one of my students, one of my composition students, who was handing this to me as an assignment, I would probably have given them a B+, to be honest, because it was actually pretty good. I mean, there were definitely things that it didn't get right. There were definitely some things in the plot that didn't make sense, but it was actually overall pretty good. So AI, composing, songwriting AI, I like the sound of that. Just purely from my own interest to see how well it would work. Let's see. Charlie Dillon says, it'd be great to have a Studio One foot controller with transport control, as this would help many people with their workflow, pianist players included. Interesting you mention that. If you have a fader port, guess what there is on the back of the fader port? there is a socket for a pedal. There has always been a socket for a pedal on the fader ports. The classic fader port, which was around, and you can still get hold of it, but it's long since discontinued, no longer supported. But it's still, you might well find the silver fader port classic on eBay or somewhere like that. But there is a socket on the back of that you can plug a pedal into, and you can use that as a foot switch to control start and stop and record. And it works. My friend Joe Gilder, many years ago, I think probably about 7 or 8 years ago, made a video where he showed using the foot pedal as a guitar player, because, you know, he would be sat at the back of his studio with his microphones in front of him, and he just ran the foot controller pedal all the way back to where he was sat, and then he would just press the foot controller to record and then press it again to stop. And it worked pretty well. So kind of the technology that you're referring to actually still, it already exists. Let's see what else we've got out of here. Yeah, the notification scared the shit out of me too. It was really loud. Sorry about that. Is Presonus close to releasing the obligatometer? I've no idea what that is. Yes, of course. We're doing preset 7 first. Yes, that's kind of an open secret. Charlie Dillon says, I have the fader port 8 and I'm using the pedal. Yeah, it works great. Yes, it does. Any momentary pedal will work for punch-in. Yes, it will. Any momentary pedal, any non-latching pedal will work, for sure. I'm going to see what that notification was. Oh, it's Happy New Year on WhatsApp from a very, very dear friend of mine who I've known for like 27 years. She's cool. There we go. But yeah, sorry about that. Paparazzi Music says such a generator would eventually end up sounding just like Taylor Swift. It might. Yeah, an automatic song generator might end up sounding like a Taylor Swift gig. Or Kenny G, or something like that. I wonder, maybe I should have brought the bottle with me. I just filled the glass up. I left the bottle in the kitchen. Maybe I should have just brought the bottle up. And then I could just kept filling this up. But then I would probably get hammered fairly quickly. Because I don't actually drink very much. It's a rare occurrence for me to actually drink much. I had 3 beers last night for the Studio One meetup. And that was probably more than I've had in a month, to be honest. So yeah, I did wake up this morning feeling a little bit woo. I don't think I was particularly drunk, but I felt a little bit woo. Yeah, I probably should have brought the bottle up. Oh well, I'll bring it up later on. All right, any more comments about things you would like to see from Presonus in 2023? Let's kind of think big, dream big. New features, new products. Whatever you can think of, really. That'd be quite cool to see what you guys come up with. We've already got some pretty good ideas, I think. Let's see, we've got 23 people in here. We got 25 likes, which is awesome. Thank you very much, guys. You guys are freaking awesome. I have such a great community here for my live shows, and also, you know, you guys watch my videos as well, which is fantastic and really helps me a lot. Now, 2023, I actually do have a bunch of new videos coming. I've got some interesting series that I'm working on already. And over the next couple of months, as we go on into the springtime, I'm going to be putting those out. And they should be pretty cool. And hopefully you're going to find them very, very helpful. All Studio One 6 stuff. But I am working on a series on Notion. And I'm going to look at the current, it still is current, the desktop version for Notion for Mac and PC, which is called Notion 6. And also I'm going to do some videos on Notion Mobile as well, which we released in October last year in 2022. And I don't know how many of you are going to be that interested in notation and what Presonus offers for notation. But for those of you that are, I've got those two series coming. I have wanted to do Notion stuff for a while, and I just haven't got round to it, to be honest. Since I switched over from Sibelius to Notion in 2016, I've been like, yeah, I need to make some videos on this. This is great. And now, of course, we've got Notion Mobile, and I should probably make some videos on that too, because the great thing about Notion Mobile is you can install it on a Mac, a PC, an iPad, an iPhone, an Amazon device, an Amazon Fire, a Chromebook. You can install it on all of those platforms. It's really, really cool. It's totally cross-platform. It's actually ultimately free, but there is an in-app purchase that unlocks a bunch of extra sounds and the handwriting tool. But you can also, this is really cool, you can also sign into the app with your Presonosphere membership if you're a member of Presonosphere. And the really handy thing about that is that there's a feature built into Notion Mobile where you can send your score to any of your other devices that you have signed into with Presonosphere. So, for example, I have Presonosphere, and I'm signed in on my PC, the Mac, and two of my iPads, and my Android phone as well. I failed to mention Android. Should have done. And so I can send a score from any of those devices to any of the other ones. Now, the thing with that is there is one small caveat. There's always a small caveat, isn't there? But in this case, every time you activate with Presonosphere on any of those devices, it actually uses up an activation of Presonosphere. So if you've already got like 4 devices on 4 computers on which you have Presonosphere activated, and then you go, oh great, I'm gonna get Notion Mobile on my iPhone, and then I'm gonna get it on my Android phone. That's all of your activations used up. You only get 5 for Presonosphere, so you'll find that you've maybe got more devices than you have activations, which means that you won't be able to sign in on some of your devices. And you have to play around with managing your activations. But other than that, it really works. And the thing with the transmitting the scores is it's instant. It's not like you're emailing it to yourself. It's instant. So I can send it from my iPad. I can just get my iPad out and go transmit. And it opens the score up instantly on my PC or instantly on my Mac. It's really, really cool. Very powerful. So I've got videos coming on that. What about a MIDI guitar controller with a Fender sticker on it? Well, that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? A MIDI guitar? Yep, I like the sound of that. Mike says, I hope you do a series like we've talked about where you can interview some folks. Yes, I am thinking about that, and I'm thinking about who to line up for interviewing people. That would be cool. Just Bob says, within Empire guitar rig modeled after musicians, James Hetfield, SVR, Steve Vai, EVH, Eric Clapton, Dave Gilmour, etc. Well, yeah, that is also a great idea, but we would have to secure endorsements with those people, with those artists. So maybe people that are Fender artists already, that might work. And especially as EVH is a Fender brand. already. So, and anybody that plays a Charvel guitar or a Jackson guitar, if they're an artist with those companies, those are also Fender companies. So yeah, I could see how that might work quite easily, potentially. But you know, we've got to secure their endorsements. That's the only complexity about that. You know, if you're going to use an artist's name, you've got to get their permission, and you've got to get their endorsement. So it's possible, certainly possible. Clapton generally plays a Strat. Yes, he does. There was one video I saw. Where he was playing a Telecaster. I don't think it was his. I think it was a borrowed guitar. And I thought that, hey, that's a little weird. Clapton playing a Tele? How odd. But yes, there is this. He does have a signature model with Fender. But yeah, that is definitely a possibility. But yeah, in the case of other artists, it would be a case of we'd have to get their endorsements. Mike has a really great point here about Pressonosphere activations. He says the activation count should be common sense, but may not be for everyone. I would think when you see 1 of 5 activations, you know that is 1 out of 5. That is correct. That is correct. Yes. When you see 1/5, that means you have used 1 of your 5 activations. A lot of people get confused about, you know, Studio One licensing. There's a lot of confusion out there, and there's a lot of mythology, and there's a lot of just wrong information. A lot of people think that you get 5 licenses of Studio One. No, you don't. You don't get 5 licenses. You get 1 license. But with that license, you are granted the right to activate that license on up to 5 computers that you own and use. They have to be your machines. I know that there are people out there that share activations. That's actually technically breaking the terms of the EULA, the End User License Agreement. Because in the End User License Agreement, those computers that it refers to for activations, they're meant to be your computers, and you're meant to actually technically only use 1 at a time. That's what the EULA itself actually states. Now, you know, a lot of people don't do that, but sharing activations is not actually allowed. So, you know, I'm never going to actually encourage people to do that. But you're absolutely right. You have 1 license, you have 5 activations of that license. When those 5 activations are used up, you cannot activate it any further on any other machines. You have to go and manage your activations inside your Presonus account. There is one small difference with that, and that is with Notion 6. With Notion 6, there is no method for managing activations like there is with Studio One, because Notion is a completely separate product. Notion was created originally by a company called Notion Music. Notion Music was bought by Presonus in 2012. And so with that, we acquired all of their assets. So that means we acquired this product called Notion. So it has existed on its own code base, on its own platform and everything else for a very, very long time. Because it's been around since 2003, which is when the very first version of Notion was launched. So Notion is an exception because there is no ability to manage your activations. With Notion, what you have to do is you have to make a support ticket and just say, hey, I've run out of activations. This is why I've run out of activations, and what we can do is we can reset your activations back to 0, but we can't actually go and remove specific computers because we don't get to see what computers it's activated on. It's a unique thing. It's a unique product in that respect. So we just basically reset your activations to 0. That means you'll then have to go and reactivate on whatever computers it is that you are currently using. So that's kind of how that works for Notion. For Studio One, it's different. You can manage specific activations on specific devices. You cannot do that with Notion currently. Notion Mobile, different. Notion Mobile is actually written on the Studio One code base. So it shares the activation management that you get with Studio One 6. So, but yeah, you cannot deactivate devices with Notion. Let's see. Rich says Clapton owns a custom telly called the Blind Faith Telly. I did not know that. I know nothing about that. Simon Carpenter is here. He says, Happy New Year, one and all. Best wishes. Simon, a very happy new year to you too. Welcome. Glad you're here. We got 26 people here, which is awesome. And we're coming up on 2 o'clock in the morning here in Scotland, which would be nearly 8 o'clock in the evening in the Central Time area of the United States. So you guys are getting closer and closer to 2023, which is really cool. Very exciting. Now, I'm already in 2023. For those of you that are just joining and you have no idea, I'm already there. So that's why I'm already celebrating. I'm well into nearly 2 hours in, and so far nobody has got hurt. No squirrels have been harmed, which is a good thing. Now, you will notice that the lighting in my studio looks a little bit different. If I turn off these, my lights from my camera, and you might actually see that my room is blue, which is pretty cool. I've got some new LED lights. That was one of my Christmas presents from my wife. Let's put these back on. And I've got a cute little remote control for the lights. So I can turn this any color I want. I can have them crossfade between a whole bunch of colors. I can have them flash. I can have them dance to music. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it jazzes up my studio, which is nice. I did have some fairy lights. The fairy lights died, unfortunately. I don't know why they stopped working, but they stopped working. Oh, there we go. A bit more information on Clapton's telly. Rich says it was after he left Cream and started Blind Faith, famous for the Hyde Park show in Helsinki. Ah, okay. Well, I didn't know that. Bob says, any of you guys dealt with Steinberg in the past? Yes, I have. I used, before I switched to Studio One in 2013, I used Cubase. And before Cubase, I used Pro 24. And before that, I used Pro 16. And they had something else before that, and I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, I used Steinberg products exclusively for around about 30 years. And it was pretty poor treatment at the hands of Steinberg that got me to switch to Studio One. To be honest, my last 4 or 5 years on Cubase were not the best because Cubase was a pain in the arse. It was very unstable. It had a propensity to freeze, or it had a propensity to crash altogether mid-session, and sometimes I would lose a song. It would crash in the middle of working, and all of that work would be gone. That happened with increasing frequency to the point where I would not be that happy about starting up my computer because I was just like, great, is Cubase going to crash today, or am I actually going to get work done? It was hard. And I did not get the best support from Steinberg Technical Support. I did not get the best support from their customer service people. But also, I was a Cubase evangelist. So I had some pretty good connections with people inside the development team. And, when I started reporting a lot of the problems that I was having with Cubase, they got a little bit frosty. Relationship kind of got a little bit stale, and they didn't treat me very well. So I started looking for a new DAW, and I tried Pro Tools because you could get Pro Tools on PC. Didn't like Pro Tools, and from there I went straight to Studio One, and I've never looked back. I have no installer for Cubase anymore. I deactivated my Steinberg account. I recently reactivated it though, because of some of the new other stuff that they have brought out recently, other than Cubase. And I thought, yeah, okay, so I can use those in Studio One. But yeah, I still don't talk to them. I try and avoid it as possible. eMagic was the go, wasn't it? Yes, eMagic were a company, and they made the version of Logic before Apple bought it. And you had that on PC. I used that as well. That was great. Logic, when it was on PC, was fantastic. It was super. And then Apple bought it, and of course, they swallowed it up into their ecosystem, and you couldn't use it on PC anymore. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Dave Anthony says software versions of Fender Tonemaster amps in Sphere. I've been in 23 for 12 hours now. Yes, you have, because of where you are, my friend. And absolutely, I totally agree. Tonemaster amps would be great, for sure. Mike is reminding me it's nearly 8 p.m. where he is. Dave says Steinberg had a different business model by sharing codes. They got third parties working for them. Well, I mean, actually, you say that there are some third-party products that are used in developments for all sorts of DAWs. Like, for example, Elastique is used in a lot of DAWs, not just Studio One, but a lot of other DAWs for time stretching and audio bending and that kind of thing. That's one of those third-party products that gets used in a lot of DAWs. Rich says Cubase is still like that now. Really? Oh dear Lord. I'm not being biased. It's the same in most other top 5 DAWs. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Mike says he moved from Cubase to Cakewalk back in the day, and of course now he's with Studio One, which is cool. Or should I say moved back to Cake? Oh, right. Okay, so you're Cakewalk and then went to Cubase and then you went back to Cakewalk and now you're with Studio One. Cool. Alrighty, we are coming up at, in fact, we are just past 2 a.m., which would be just past 8 p.m. in the Central Time area. We got 24 people here. I'm happy to keep the chat going if you guys are. Let's see. Blue tint, yes. I can make this any color. I haven't tried much of the other colors yet, but if I point that over there, now everything is green. And as you can see, it's kind of changed the amount of light in here, which is cool. Let's put that back on that color. There you go. How about an ASIO driver for PreSonus and Studio One? We have one. We already have an ASIO driver, and that's called Universal Control. And so if you have a PreSonus interface, Audiobox 96, or the Audiobox Go, or if you have a Revelator, or if you have a Studio 24C or 1824C or anything like that, or if you have a PreSonus mixer, we have a driver, and it's called Universal Control. If you have a Studio Live mixer, you also get UC Surface as well, so you can control your mixer from a tablet or an iPad or something like that. So yeah, we already have that. That already exists. Just Bob has got to go. It's dinner and movie time for him. Awesome. Have a great evening, my friend. Lucas says, eMagic, Apple Logic's development headquarters is very close to Hamburg, where Studio One is being developed. That is correct. Yeah, that's right. I remember eMagic like it was yesterday, and that was like way back in the late 80s, early 90s that I got that. That's all right, David. Don't worry. Charlie Dillon says, I used Cubase from the mid-90s on Atari. Yes! I used it from the late 80s on Atari. It was the dogs. Yes, it most certainly was. I tried it on PC in the 2000s and it was rubbish, so I carried on with Atari for a few years and then moved to Studio One 2 years ago. Awesome! I still have my Atari ST. I cannot connect it to anything modern. I cannot connect it to a modern monitor, for example. It just won't work. But I still have it, and I still have my original installers and everything else for Pro 24. And I still have the original ring binder user manual for Pro 24. That's still kicking about. Oh yeah, that was great. And then, of course, with eMagic, you had their C-Lab software, you know, Notator and Creator. I had both of those as well. They were fantastic. Mike says, I'm up for it, or I can launch a Zoom. You tell me. Okay, cool. Thanks, Mike. We will switch over to Zoom, I think. I think that would probably be a good idea. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on talking and talking and talking, and eventually my voice will stop. So I think maybe we should probably switch over to Zoom. So those of you that are here in the chat and watching this stream, if you would like to join us on a Zoom for a bit more of a party where we can actually be a little bit more interactive and talk a little bit more, then I'm sure Mike will not mind me extending an invitation to everybody to come and pile on over there. So all 20 or 25 of you that are here right now, if Mike doesn't mind, are all welcome to come join us on in his Zoom room. He has a really good Zoom setup. So if you're up for that, then Mike will drop the link to his Zoom in the chat, and we can all pile on over there. So if you folks are up for that, then you are absolutely very, very welcome to come join over there. Once I have gone off air, I will join over there as well. Absolutely, because I think it'd be just loads of fun. And like Kyle says, we can party like it's 1999. Absolutely. Definitely. I remember 1999. I have vague memories of it, but I can remember it. Kind of just about. I can remember being incredibly drunk and playing a gig. And I can remember we played. What was the ballad? I can't remember what it was called. It's an old. I think the song is by Cole Porter, called "If I Should Lose You," and we played that for over an hour. That one song for over an hour, just basically improvising on the changes, and we played it at faster and faster tempos. I remember that. Anonymous Housewife says, I got married that year and it was a party. Awesome. 1999. Yes, I had hair back then. Everybody celebrated the impossible. Yeah, 1999 was yeah, that New Year's Eve of 1999 turning over into 2000. I was on the south bank of the River Thames in London, and I have never seen so many people on both sides of the River Thames in London in my life. It was phenomenal, and there was champagne flowing. There were people just handing out bottles of champagne. I don't know where they came from, but there were, big, thick magnums of champagne, and people were just handing them out. I think I ended up with like 3 bottles of champagne. I don't know, but I remember getting phenomenally drunk, and I can remember being phenomenally sick for the next 2 days. Yep. All right, there we go. So Mike has the Zoom link in the chat. He says he'll drop off and launch it, and it will be there ready for everybody. So suffice to say, everybody that is here, you are very, very welcome to come and click on that link and join the after show, the after party, and we will party like crazy. And it would be great to actually interact with you a little bit more face to face. So if you guys are up for that, come on over onto the Zoom. But if you've got other things to do and people to be with, that's just fine. Have a wonderful new year when it comes to you. If it's already there for you and you're already in 2023, enjoy it. I hope this year is an outstanding year for every one of you. Thank you so much, all of you, for all of your support for what I do here at Jonny Lipsham Studios in 2022. Your support means the world to me. Your comments, your questions that you have brought over the course of this year, the views of the Studio One 5 and the Studio One 6 series videos that I made have really blown my socks off. Thank you so much for all of your support, all of your encouragement. Means a lot to me, and hopefully we will sail on into the sunset of 2022 and on into the glorious dawn of 2023. And hopefully we will continue to have a wonderful journey together. And hopefully you guys will stay around and stick around for the ride as we go through 2023. I would appreciate that a lot. You guys mean the world to me. And I will see you probably on Wednesday, possibly Wednesday. I'm not sure what Jonny is doing for Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified for the first one of 2023. If he's available, then we'll do it. If not, then we will leave it until next Sunday for the very first Sunday Night Live of 2023. So until then, everybody, I'm going to wish you all a fantastic evening and a very, very happy new year. Good night.